Test, test, test.
Test, test, test.
Test, test, test.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, buddy. Big dog, you ready to rock and roll?
I think I am.
1, 2, 3, bang. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to episode 220 of Control Talk. Now you're starting this videocast and podcast, where we're just a couple of controls guys trying to make a living. We talk about controls, building controls, HVAC controls. Just got to see in it. We talk about it as long as it's PG. All right, big dog. That being said, you can tell we're a little bit rusty because we missed last week. Please welcome to the show my co-host and your co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's great to be back. You're right. We had a 3-week jaunt there. You were in New Mexico, Santa Fe. I hear it's one of the prettiest cities in America. Why don't you tell us real quick about Santa Fe?
Well, it's been, as you and I both know, we spend so much time. We both work all day, every day, and then at night we're putting blood, sweat, and tears into Control Talk now, which is sort of both of our passions. And what sort of gets lost in the dust a little bit is our wives. I think sometimes feel a little bit neglected, probably rightfully so. So we took the family out to Anna. My wife is from New Mexico, Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is in the southern part of the state, and it's absolutely gorgeous out there. And we actually got married in Santa Fe 5 years ago at this beautiful hotel called La Fonda. And it was just gorgeous. So anyway, long story short, we packed the kids up. We went to Las Cruces. We sort of got Axel all prepared, my 2-year-old son, that he wasn't going to be with mom for the first time in 2 years. She sort of freaked out, but I put her in the car. We drove 6 hours to Santa Fe. I plied her with a lot of tequila so she couldn't worry about the kids. And we sort of had, as she called it, a mini moon, and it was absolutely fantastic. And unbeknownst to her is when she called the next day to find out what sort of trauma Axel had, well, he didn't miss her at all. He was just having a good time. So it was beautiful. We had a great time out there. And I tell you what, Kenny, we're standing in the bar of the hotel. We're waiting to get seated for dinner, and it's really this cool atmosphere. La Fonda is such a beautiful hotel. If you ever get a chance to go to Santa Fe, it's a great place to stay. There's this cool sort of country western band playing, the old guys with the cowboy hats and the slide guitars, and they're playing this honky tonk music, and these people are out there Texas two-stepping, and it's just really, really cool. Also, to get a tap on the shoulder, I turn around, there's this tall cowboy with the big cowboy hat on, and guess who it was?
Jack McGowan.
It was Jack McGowan, who lives in Santa Fe. So we got a chance to catch up to Jack McGowan. For those of you who don't know, Jack was inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, the Control Trends Hall of Fame. He has written, 7 or 8 books. He sort of pretty much introduced Honeywell, got Honeywell into the DDC game through distribution. Just a stellar career. You can go to Control Trends and read about it. But so we saw Jack, which was great. Had a fantastic time. And Anna and the kids are still out there. So that means maybe fortunately or unfortunately for our Control Trends audience, we have a lot of time to talk.
Yeah, Jack, he was a pioneer in the energy management phase of our evolution, the HVAC evolution. And he did do a lot of great work and joined a great group of guys at the Hall of Fame category and the Control Trends Awards with Ken Sinclair and Steve Bushby. It was what a great cast that was. But it
was great. Well, hang on a second. I got to tell you something else. Do you have a spare $750,000? And if anyone in our Control Trends community does, New Mexico has something to offer you. Just a little bit north of Las Cruces, Richard Branson, for the low price of $750,000, will shoot you up into space and let you be weightless for a couple hours and then bring you back down. So that's going to be happening in New Mexico too, although the New Mexicans don't really think that's ever going to happen. But Ted Turner apparently spotted a lot of land out there. So is Richard Branson, but that could be the first spaceport. That's where they're building it. So,
oh, that's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, it makes sense to me because, New Mexico is also known for Roswell and the aliens. So I think I saw a couple of those while I was out there. And it makes sense.
Get any autographs? Get anything, any takeaways?
I'm just thinking Richard Branson, as smart as he is, he'll probably do it both ways. He'll probably send humans up to space, and then while he's up there, grab some aliens and bring them back down. He's probably charging it, two-way, both ways. So.
$750 up. If you want to come down, you have to pay another $750. That makes sense.
Yeah, but buddy, you've been pumping it, man. You were in Chicago. I know, the week before you were at the Siemens partner meeting in San Antonio, but you did some pretty intense training. Tell our audience what you've been up to, buddy.
Well, I did. It was a lot of fun with the San Antonio. We had the business and the meetings and that good stuff, which was just kind of a social fun, and it wasn't too emphasis on the technical stuff. This week, however, in Chicago at Buffalo Grove, I went to the Siemens. What's it called here? It's called the Siemens.
Siemens, we're going to kick your butt and make sure you understand this product if you're going to sell it.
It was the SVP 2015 Siemens BACnet startup and commissioning application, and I got through the course by the skin of my teeth. It was a lot of fun. I learned a great deal from Ron Lewins was the instructor, but he's not really an instructor. He was just filling in. He's actually an operation specialist for Siemens in the Midwest, but very bright guy. I mean, he solved so many problems. And the whole concept with Siemens, the Talon thing is it's another venture, business venture for a perspective on how to do things, for the user. In other words, Siemens has a great brand, one of the most recognized brands in the world, I think in the top 50. And so they're very conscientious on the brand and the people. They vet them very carefully. Anybody that's selling Siemens normally is on the top of their game. They're good at it. And the reason why is that they make you go through the training. So I'm a sales engineer, but I basically thought that this would be a great background for me to actually understand more about PPCL, the way that the programs get edited to make them bulletproof. So the concept is that if you put this thing in correctly, the program, and use VAV or a heat pump controller, and they have a special application, you download the application, you fine tune it with all the project set points and the variables that are listed on the drawings in the sequence of operation, and then you basically compile that and convert it from horizontal rows to vertical columns, and then go through it and debug it. But once you get that done, they're very confident that program will never go bad. So if you have any issues, then it's not from the program side of it because it's already been debugged and ready to roll. It's the equipment side or the wiring side or something. So in terms of actually learning how to sell it and put it in and make it work and keep it working, it was a great course, and I recommend it. I mean, Talon is very powerful around the country. It's kind of a sleeper, but now that I know more about it, I can see why they're successful. So Siemens getting their share of blood. Bunch of great guys, less smart integrators, and again, I don't think I'll ever compete against the systems integrators, take their spot in the lineup, but I can help sell the projects better now. So that's a great thing.
Well, I think what I'm finding interesting, and again, we talk about sort of the young executives that are coming on, guys like Josh Felburn and some of the rest of the team at Siemens. What's really interesting, I think Talon's making a big push, but I think the primary reason for that, Kenny, is they've started to go through distribution. And I think there's a real argument when you got one of the biggest brands in the world that has gone direct, and now they're going through distribution. I mean, they've joined the other great companies like Honeywell and Johnson Controls who've had this figured out for a while. But again, I think as we go on, one of the trends we're going to continue to track is I think the distributor becomes a more important piece right now than probably ever. I think we're more relevant probably than ever. And I think part of that is because the owners are getting educated. They don't want somebody that's just selling one brand. They want to deal with somebody that can come in and talk multiple brands and get best of breed for that particular application. And face it, I mean, although all these control systems are great, they all have their little wrinkles. They all have their, some might be more expensive than others. And depending on what the owner wants to do, they really need somebody, and the consulting engineer too, they really need somebody who can come in and say, here are your options. But the whole point of open, I mean, you can talk about open, you could redefine that as having choice. Choice with who you're going to buy the product from, choice for what product you're going to buy, so you can go with best of breed. And, and Siemens has always had a great product, but, they were always very protective of it and sort of going direct and very much requiring that if you handle our brand, that's the only thing you can do. And I think they're seeing the light now. I think the days of proprietary are numbered, at best, and not that proprietary systems aren't good or as good as other systems. It's just the owners are demanding choice. And that's the whole point of Niagara. That's the whole point of the Jace. That's the whole point of Project Haystack. And that's the whole point of distributors right now, because your distributor is your best resource if you're an integrator to handle multiple brands, provide another layer of support like you have, Kenny, at the same time be available to the consulting engineers and to the owners.
Well, you're right. And again, if you don't make changes, you can't expect different outcomes. And I think Siemens came to that realization, and they got the young executives at core that is really rocking the boat. They're disrupting a model that wasn't ready completely for it. A lot of people within the corporate world think that this could be folly, but the truth is what you just said there. And see, Niagara makes a big thing. And the cool thing about the talent and what Siemens is doing now is it can be as open as anybody wants it to be. It can do all the Niagara 4. In fact, what I was going to probably transition to is that, and we have a talent post coming up, is that it is Niagara ready. It's ready to, so if you have a front end, you can easily use Siemens because it's Niagara 4 ready and friendly. And so you do all the programming work on the Siemens side, using the programming tools you have, and then it just, you just suck it right up into the station. So it's just like you said, it's a great option because there's so much installed base out there, and people might love the equipment and might love the control systems, but they might have issues with maybe the people that are providing the service or they want a competitive opportunity. And to do that, you need multiple people vying for that work. And so it's another option for a large amount of installed people that they can use Siemens in a different flavor with an open side of it.
Well, it really is. And I tell you what, I think our first post, Kenny, that we had next week comes from the Enlighten Company, the first one that brought DDC through distribution, our friends at Honeywell. And they continue to rock and roll in the marketplace. They had an update, Kenny, the release of the webs in 4.2.36.38. How about getting our listeners just a quick overview of that?
Well, this is the Honeywell's keeping pace with the tritium changes. So Niagara 4 is on a big push and is a new generation, and then Honeywell has to Honeywellize that and package this software release with the Spider, the Striker, the Venom, and BACnet FF TSTAT programming tools, which is a very, very good thing, because now the package release of these Honeywell tools ensure compatibility. I mean, there's been a lot of challenges out there recently, and network people are good at it, but if you're not a network person and you're dealing with Windows 10, you're dealing with the new Niagara 3.8.111, and you find out certain things don't work. I mean, we're finding some, like you said, ripples that you make the assumption that if you have the latest and greatest things, you might you're on top of it, but you actually might be creating a monster for yourself. So when somebody comes up with a seamless a combined tool package like Honeywell's done, all the systems integrators that sell Honeywell are very, very happy about that. So it also includes the release or the CTN driver is resolved those issues. There's no cost for the upgrade for existing N4 users. However, the users of the 3.8 AX software and below need to purchase a SMA, a software maintenance agreement part number to the years you want, 1, 3, or 5, and then work with your local Honeywell authorized systems distributor and get that fixed. But it's good stuff. A good release from Honeywell.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kenny, it sure is, and congratulations to our friends at Honeywell. Keep up the good work, guys. And I don't want to go into too much detail on Project Haystack. Needless to say, you need to be there, but they announced their keynote speakers for the event, and it looks like they got some really, really good people here that are doing it. Our friend Mark Peacock is heavily involved in it, as well as John Petsy and several others, but that's going to take place May 8th through the 10th at the Saddlebrook Resort in Tampa. So it'll be a good time to be in Tampa Bay. Kenny and I will be there and we'll be rocking and rolling down there. And then that brings us to our next post, Kenny, which is the man. I'm sorry, that's you. The most exciting man in the controls industry. I mean, this guy is just something else. Roger Rebenak, who's been with Honeywell forever, just had such a tremendous impact on our industry and done so many great things. And Raj was the first recipient of the PID Award, the Passion, Integrity, Dedication Award at the Control Trends Awards. And boy, he exudes it. And Raj is moving on from Honeywell. He is now the CEO of Jackson Controls, which is one of these enlightened distributors Kenny and I are talking about in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I think this just leads credence to the fact that the distributor, if they weren't important now, if they weren't relevant now, with Roger being a distributor, we will be. But what are your thoughts on that, Kenny?
Well, yeah, the first thing I'd like to say is congratulations and thank you. Roger Rebenak was he was the staple. He was the go-to person for all things security with AX, with Niagara, and with Honeywell. So the Honeywell Web Enterprise Security, and then the Vicon Enterprise Security. They dovetailed through Roger and Laura Kevitt, of course. So he's going to create a big hole in the support program that they're going to have to address. I'm sure they're working hard to get somebody to fill Roger's space. But Roger had a lot of talent. He started out in the branch as a technician, so he's a real down-to-earth, ground-up understanding of how things work. So with security and access control and CCTV, there's so many little things you got to learn. And Roger had all that knowledge in one person. And then he added Honeywell to it, the Honeywell product line, the commercial component line, and then he added Honeywell security. And then when Niagara came in, it was a flush. It was a royal flush because he saw the value in having a totally integrated security-driven project. So there was no reason now to have silos. I mean, we talked about open systems. Roger was actually the first guy to actually sell that concept to the distribution world, and to the he helped everybody. He went across OEMs. I think he helped the branches. I mean, he just was able to bring that understanding and bring it to the stage, whether it was a presentation to customers or doing the sales proposals. But he landed some of the biggest jobs Honeywell ever got and ever will get. In security that led to the HVAC integration, and he helped us in Pittsburgh. So in Western Pennsylvania, we have a couple jobs where Roger's been to. His last great contribution as a representative of Honeywell was at the 449 building in Western Pennsylvania up in Zillionople. Roger was there for the grand opening, and Honeywell has a training room. They, along with other manufacturers and other vendors, have contributed significant components and support to 449 in this incredibly new facility. We did a post on that too. You can look that up. But it's coming online now. They're actually putting this Honeywell portion of this facility in place, and then Honeywell can use it in the future. They invite Honeywell corporate to have, if they have local meetings, to invite contractors to do any kind of business rather than rent out a hall or do something in a hotel. You could use this 449 facility. It is an amazing facility. So Roger was, he just really believed in that, and then he took the painstaking measures to get the stuff rallied up and got it to the contractor, Rennick Brothers, that's putting it in. So it's going to be an enormous project, and I just wonder how we're going to keep in touch with Roger. And then thanks for all that great stuff with the Formula One, what we did at the Indianapolis
experience,
the 500, Indy 500, and then the with the Poconos, it was a great customer relationship, and we took some people up there and we really bonded well, and we got, the rewards of that, having that, because it was a learning process too. In other words, it wasn't always just having fun. It was incorporating fun in with the business, and rewarding some of the customers that have made those investments and commitments. So good luck to Roger, and I hope we can stay in touch with him. I mean,
I think we will, Kenny. And you've seen the Batman movies, and I don't know whether it was the Joker that Heath Ledger played or Jack Nicholson, but there was a line that epitomizes Roger, and he would actually do this for me sometimes. He goes, "Wait till they get a load of me." So Roger on the distribution side, distribution will never be the same. And, sort of along those lines, Kenny, if you think about it, how many great distributors has Honeywell put in business? I mean, so many people started with Honeywell, moved on to distribution, and one of them, I mean, there are a ton of them. We could go down the list, but one of them, because it's relevant to an event that's coming up, is Don Cochran Sr., who founded Cochran Supply, and his son Don Jr. and Scott run that company now, and they're one of the prolific distributors. And they got a big event coming up called ControlCon, and maybe a little bit out of order, Kenny, but this is an event we're going to be covering, we're going to be at, and I think you should be too. Can you run down the dates real quick for us on that?
I'd love to. ControlCon is going to be held June 8th and 9th in Detroit, Michigan. It is going to be a fabulous event. I'm looking at the website. I'm going to bring it up here in a second, at the Motor City Casino Hotel. And this is also a two-part thing. In other words, it's celebrating the 50th anniversary of Cochrane Supply, one of the most successful distribution organizations in North America, maybe the world. I mean, because they really are global. They're down there in anywhere there's a General Motors or facility or Ford plant, they probably have had some hand in providing them maximum efficiencies and comfort. But they've got a 2-day event that's going to do both things. It's going to have a smart building conference, which is education based. They're going to have education programs. They're going to have sensational speakers. They've got, I know that John Sublett is one of the big speakers, and he's a big tritium guy, and he's co-founder and chief technology officer. You got Jim Young, who's the founder of Realcomm Conference Group, and he's definitely an evangelist of smart buildings, and we're going to be going out to that Realcomm IBCOM event in San Diego in June. You got Paul Oswald, managing director of CB Richard Ellis and ESI. He's going to be talking about connected real estate. And then Don Cochran Sr. Is going to give a cameo appearance at the show. And then, of course, Scott Cochran. He'll be on many stage presences. And then Mike Mitchell, Chief Technical Officer, he's going to talk about cybersecurity. So this thing it combines the best of all things in our business. In other words, it's in a great environment. It's going to be a lot of fun, a casino-based venue. It's going to have training. So in the day, the programmers, estimators, contractors, facility managers, engineers, project managers, sales professionals, from engineers to the actual people that are counters, executives, systems integrators, installers, service technicians, and building managers should all be aware of this. And it's centrally located, and it's going to be a good time. And then there's going to be fun. I'm sure there's going to be golf associated with things. It's going to be and they have a full-blown schedule. And please go to controlscon.com. So controlscon.com website, and it gives you the schedule. It begins Thursday, 7 a.m. sharp. The exhibitors set up. The registration opens up at 11. And then the general session. Scott Cochran will do the introduction. And then John comes on, Jim comes on, and it ends at 4 o'clock, the reception. And then the party, 6 p.m., Cochrane Supply's 50th anniversary Golden Gala Controls Con Awards and Entertainment. And so it ends Friday after a very serious education track. So I think it's time very well spent. It's an opportunity to get a concise synopsis view of our industry. It is a great networking opportunity because there's going to be buku sponsors. I mean, you got Vicon as a premium sponsor. You got Honeywell. You got Johnson Controls, Dell, Distech, KMC, Belimo, the panel shop. Ted Hauk and the team will be there. Cadero, Yaskawa, BAY, Distech, and exhibitors. There's over
Hey, but don't forget Control
20
Trends.
exhibitors.
Control Trends will be there too. We're going to be covered. We're going to have the cameras. We're going to be there. And I tell you what, if there's one guy that can throw a party equal to ours, it's Scott Cochran, man. So that's going to be an event to be at. And speaking of cybersecurity, Kenny, special shout out to our friend Fred Gordy from IntelligentBuildings.com. I hadn't heard from Fred in a while. Fred, I know you listen. We'd love to get you back on the show, buddy. We miss you. We want to hear what you're up to. So with that, Kenny, we can put this under Ken's calendar. We got several events. We got the EasyIO World Conference and the CABA Conference coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those, buddy?
I'd love to. The CABA is going to be another one of these, enormously enriching conferences. Okay, so when we talk about a busy schedule, you and I are going to be very busy. We've had 2 weeks, and I know you got another big thing coming up next week. And then we've got the CGNA coming up on April 25th through the 28th. And then we have CABA's Intelligent Building and Digital Home Forum in Silicon Valley. And, Ron Zimmer and his team have really put together an amazing program. And it's just, again, Ken St. Clair is going to be there, and some of the other big,
Yeah, we would be there too, except we're CGNA that week. Otherwise, we would be there for sure covering it, because I think there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot to be had there. So if you're not a member of CGNA, this is the place to be, right?
It sure is. Well, see, what it's trying to get at is the high level stuff that, I remember being in security, going through the American Society of Industrial Security. I got a certification as a CPP, a Certified Protection Professional. And I remember some of the interesting modules and learning there and some of the presentations that I sat in. And one of them is that the way that our economy and our system works is that it's much better for an industry to self-regulate itself than the government trying to regulate it, like other countries do. And so where the regulations come from and emanate, we learned that from BACnet, is you have a cooperation going on where you had Europeans and North Americans, Canadians, U.S. Americans, and you had, Steve Bushby from the government, all coming together to come up with a protocol that would benefit the industry at large and then actually get something done that's vital to the energy savings and energy management and comfort control for the government's buildings and everybody else's buildings. So that led to the BACnet protocol and the BACnet Society, and they're all mostly engineers from ASHRAE. So I mean, it's just amazing. Well, CABA does a lot of heavy lifting like that too. And if you look at the itinerary that they have and the delegates that they will have, that they have have done research that are going to be a part of the project that's available to the public at large, is the Intelligent Buildings Design and Implementation is a CABA landmark research study. This topic will be discussed at the CABA Forum and also in a webinar hosted by CABA and Frost and Sullivan on Thursday, March 23rd. So big league, people having a major event where you can't help but learn something and come away enriched. It's worth every dime of it. It's just that, like you said, we got competing events and we can only go to one at a time. And as we talked, as you mentioned, the CGNA Synergy Conference is going to be at the same time. That's in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where we're going to be at because we're both members of the Controls Group North America organization with Jim Heyman and Mike Sackett. And, they've got a lineup that's also very impressive and very busy and very, very interesting. So in our industry, you'll have a lot of opportunities to go and get smart real quick, meet the vendors that you represent in your areas and you work as a distributor for. You actually meet the new executives. And of course, they talk a lot of business there because, what we have to do is we make commitments in territorial bogeys. Hang on a
second. Let's talk a bit. I want to just break down control, CGNA, Controls Group North America, and why that might be important to you if you're a contractor or an owner. Again, the theme being that, the distributors are becoming more relevant. Well, this is the top distributors in North America that are members of this group. And we commit to come together and we learn from each other, but also we get some extra buying power by working through this group. So your CGNA distributor is going to be well informed. They have to meet a certain standard to even be in the group. And they're going to also have, advantageous pricing with the best products. So, you might want to go to cgnacontrols.net and locate your local CGNA distributor. And, that's somebody you definitely want to have in your Rolodex and be checking out, because those guys can help you with building automation. They can help you with boiler controls. They can help you with HVAC controls, and they're a resource for you. And part of the point that Kenny's making is that they're committed. They come twice a year. They come together to understand the best practices, what's going on in the industry, the technologies, how they can be better distributors. So they're really ahead of the curve because, as a teacher of mine once said, nothing is obvious than uninformed. And as Ken Smyers says, if you want to be informed, you got to invest, and you got to invest your time and your energy.
And you got to keep on top of control trends. But in fact, it's going to be a great meeting down there too. Johnson Controls is the diamond sponsor, and they have a big roundtable planned down there. And they're really aggressively. They want to know how they can help engage the distributors and the contractors in North America to get into the light commercial building opportunities out there in the markets with the Verisys. And this is an incredible product. We'll be covering time and time again. But this is finally out and able, this is ready for, your a territory near you or a building near you. So again, they've got a tremendous amount of plans. What they got scheduled is going to be hard to, it's like boom, 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 boom. But as you said, unified buying power, strategic marketing, training and education, progressive technology, industry networking all happens down there in a short 2.5 day bang meeting. So I'm looking forward to it. And plus we get to see all the guys across the country. Like you said, I believe there's 42 distributors, and they're from Canada and North America. And they're probably, the most elite distributors in our industry, because most of them come from family backgrounds and started from ground level up and learned the business as a young person and evolved over 20, 30 years. So the people in that room, when I sit there and I look around the room, I think two things. One, I'm sure glad I don't have to make that payroll, because this was being expensive, twice a week outlay of money. And two, where are the replacements for all these smart people? I mean, like Ken St. Clair, we better start recording every chance we get to, capture some of the knowledge that these folks have, because, like a guy like Roger Rebenak leaves a corporation, it creates quite a void that's, that you just can't automatically replace, because you're taking with you 35 years of experience. So
tribal
each
knowledge,
one of the guys,
baby. Tribal knowledge. That's what it's called. So Kenny, the thing is, make no doubt about it, the Johnson Verisys product, Johnson has thrown the gauntlet down. They've officially entered the race to the small space, and this product rocks and rolls. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even available, and they got a ton of votes at last year's Control Trends Award. So they're going to rock and roll. But one of the preeminent champions is the EZIO product line, and you and I are going to be in Manchester, England for the EZIO World Conference. We've covered all of them so far, and this is an event, if you can get over here, it just makes so much sense. These guys they're great entertainment. You'll have a great time. You'll learn a lot. And Kenny, give us the 411 on the EZIO World Conference in Manchester, UK.
Well, just talking about it gets me excited because, again, Mike Marston has been here in our area. He's so much fun, and Lim and Mike together might be the best tandem presentation that you'll ever go to, because Mike's such an energetic speaker and knowledgeable. He's many years in the business, and of course he has a background in several controls companies and also Tritium Niagara. And so now these guys have really conquered the globe, so to speak, in that area where you start out kind of aiming at a contractor-friendly, one controller does all solution. So you get the FG32, for instance, or the FG20. Both of them are the same. It's just the inside's the same operating systems, and has a CPT tool involved. So, but one has 36 IO and the other one's 20 on board. But the global conference, again, is what really woke us up to how people in the business can make a product for a certain market and then live and die by that success, or you can make a controller that's designed for a global applications. Every building has commonalities. Every building has to control all the air and water moving through it, and to do that you need equipment, and then you need controls, and then you need people that can put them in, install the equipment, get everything working, and then you need a controller that's reliable, that can give you the management tools you need to start it up, commission it, tune it up, keep commissioning it, keep providing information, generating the data that goes into everything else. And EZIO is excited because they've got some new products coming out, primarily in the wireless department. Now, EZIO is global. So, you have different versions of people that use it. You have people that equipment manufacturers now are putting the FGs on OEM equipment. So that's really exciting for EZIO. And now if you're in the business, you're going to get an opportunity to go service a piece of equipment. You better know what an FG looks like and how it works, because you might be working on it as part of your service contract. They're going through distribution. So EZIO is a vendor of CGNA, or CGNA vendor friendly. So in other words, there's a program. So anybody in CGNA can provide and sell and support the EZIO components. But in this Manchester outing, we're going to see people from the Scandinavia. We're going to see people from Australia. We're going to see people from South Africa that have taken this EZIO product and put it in these big buildings, and they have different applications. Up in the Scandinavian area, they have like all the schools are EZIO controllers. And then they have like these remote communication sites that they use to monitor the status of these buildings that support the communication in these very challenging applications. Very cold, nasty weather. So EZIO has gone through the rigors of upgrading their components and everything to endure a very challenging application. So, and then they have fun. We're talking about going to Manchester United Stadium, where it is the largest sports entity in the world, I believe. And I was
Yeah,
shocked to hear that.
they're telling me that they've got you lined up to scrimmage with the team, so that's going to be good stuff. But Kenny, did you know how many years it took from the time bread was invented to sliced bread? Because we always hear about sliced bread being the greatest invention in the world.
I'm going to say a couple hundred years. Because,
no, a couple thousand years. Okay. And I tell you what, the thing about EasyIO is these guys are, in my opinion, are so far ahead with their thinking. Their plant controller has won the plant control of the year every single year at the Control Trends Awards. And they've upgraded it, made it at least 2 to 3 times better every single year. Our biggest challenge with this thing is just so revolutionary concept-wise and price-wise that it's taken our integrators, sort of a while to adopt. We had one really big integrator that got the vision and got all over it. But the price points versus the performance and what this thing will do is phenomenal. I know you guys, your integrators have just now started rolling with it. But I encourage you, check this product out. If nothing else, write this trip off, go to Manchester United, watch Kenny scrimmage with the Manchester United team, because that'll be good to see, because he's quite the athlete.
The only place I could keep up with them would be at the bar, and they're drinking when they're drinking pints. I could probably keep up with them for a couple runs.
Well, that's the second part of the entertainment. But it's a great show, and these guys make a great product. Lim, Mike, Kenny, and I've been at every single one of these global events, and if you don't think that the controls world is becoming global, please think again.
Right, as you said, they had it in Amsterdam, Madrid, Paris, and this year is going to be Manchester, England. But again, it's going to be a whirlwind 2 days, because there's so much going on. I mean, and I know that again, they mix fun and they mixed education down, because the Hard Rock Cafe on Sunday the 21st, that's the meeting point, the informal pre-event gathering, and then they got the Manchester United Stadium, Old Trafford. That's going to be the business conference day. Attending, attendees. There's a group price for everything, and then dinner and awesome entertainment that evening. Then Tuesday is going to be the conference room, Hilton Manchester Airport. It's VIP training on the next level, CPT and Easy Stack, and the new developments there. So there's a early bird price that will expire April 15th.
And we've got a link on Control Trends, so you can just go straight to that post. And Kenny, let's put that in the show notes too. Register. Come to England, man. We will have an awesome time. You'll learn a lot. And like I said, these guys are like sliced bread, man. They call it easy for a reason. But, we talked a little bit about, Kenny, about, tribal knowledge leaving the building. At Control Trends, we're trying to capture as much of that as we can in video format. And I tell you what, Stromquist and Company has one of the best trainers on the planet, a guy by the name of Tim Shambly. Tim, most of the techs in Atlanta have been trained by Tim, because he teaches down at the local. He teaches at several of the tech schools. And we have reposted a thing that Tim did. We call it Everything You Want to Know About Control Valves, but we're afraid to ask, where Tim goes through, and it's a generic training. He goes through all the different valves, how they work. And there's something for everybody there. I mean, if you're a control pro, he's still got stuff that'll help you out there. So I encourage you to check that out, because that is a really good post. And then, we rock right into the easy way to do VVT with our friend Eric Kruder from KMC Controls. And Kenny, you and I spent quite a bit of time around KMC Controls. What's your thought on those guys and what they're up to?
Well, when you say it's easy for a reason, they call it EasyIO for a reason. I think KMC has a kind of a similar approach too. We talk when we talk about trends and following trends. This year, one of the most important, consistent trends that comes up every week, every show, every email week, we've got 1 or 2 entries on the light commercial building solution style from Honeywell. We got the light commercial buildings from Johnson Controls. We've got the EcoView from the Siemens Talon side, and then we've got we'll be talking about Optergy. We'll be talking about maybe one other one, but KMC has probably one of the most straightforward, easiest in terms of pricing. The price points are unbelievable. I mean, they have figured out how to provide a solution for many of the light commercial building applications, say from maybe like 10,000 feet to 25,000 feet. Probably one of the massive markets. It's a massive market. 80% of the buildings that don't have DDC control or nothing more than the thermostat. Some of them don't even have commercial thermostats. And you try to go in there, and these people are very budget conscientious. They don't have a great budget. They don't have a staff facility director, so somebody's working 2 jobs, and he's got to look after, or she has to look after the controls, and because they've got to keep people happy inside that space. Well, the VVT controls retrofit that KMC offers is a solution that is getting its share of the market. And the reason why is because they've got it figured out. They have a web-based solution. They've got the sensors on the wall that are easy to use. They connect to a VAV controller, and they do it in a very cost-effective way. So if you watch this post here by Eric Kruder, you'll see just how excited he is about talking, telling the controls what they're. As you can see, maybe in the video, the relationship with it could be standalone from the thermostat or the sensor on the wall to the VAV box, and then of course it can be networked, and it can be brought into the next level too. So you have major building integration going on. This stuff here is incremental, so it'll work, basically in any building by itself, or you can bring it into your enterprise. So there's Eric. They're young. He was a young gun a couple years ago, and he's still going at it. Kruder just has an amazing product line, and they're developing.
And they were co-winners of the Light Commercial Solution of the Year, along with a company called Optergy, our friend Steve Galizium. And unfortunately, we're doing the highlights of the different awards, and our camera guy missed that. He had a little technical glitch right when that was on. So our apologies to KMC and to Optergy. We will try to make it up to you somehow, guys. But great Light Commercial Solution of the Year. That's another way to say the guys that won the race to the small space this year. So KMC, great company. Richard Newberry, one of the coolest executives ever. They partner with Dell. They partner with Intel. They are really dead in the middle of the intersection of IoT and IT and building automation control. So these guys are a company on the move. We represent them. You do too. We're both proud to do that. So, well, speaking of that, Kenny, we've already talked about the Talon control system. You mentioned that earlier. Let's get on to, we're back to the highlights again. Now I'm back in town. I'm editing the videos from the Control Trends Awards highlights. And that takes a little bit of time, and my goal is to get through those here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But we had the 2016 Young Guns, Kenny, and tell us about our class of Young Guns, please.
Well, I tell you, that's the fun part of the business. When we have a chance to recognize, the people that have already established themselves in our industry as a role model. We came up with a concept a while ago where, how do you get people excited about, the HVAC business, the industry? What makes it sexy and glamorous? How do we get our share of our mind share of the talent out there? And some of the best ideas we came up with was the reverse engineering some of the ways that these people that have already established themselves as role models, how did they get in the business? And the idea came at us from Ken St. Clair and a couple other folks, but we were pretty mindful of it already. But he really lit the fire under our thought process when he told us about his version. They weren't called the Young Guns, but they were young engineers, and Alper Olsmeiser was one of them. And we thought, man, this is a great idea. We need to seize this opportunity during the control trends to recognize, a handful of people that really represent different slices of the industry. In other words, there's we had a girl named Stephanie Szeszczowski from she was from Distech. We had Brendan O'Mahony. He's a PE mechanical engineer from CRB Engineering. We had Derek Metke, who was he born in the Midwest, joined Linkspring, a very technically sound IP expert. We had Christy O'Neill, support manager from Blue Ridge Technologies. Everybody knows that Blue Ridge is a manufacturer of native backnet lighting controls. We had Travis Kerr, director of systems integrations at Hepta Systems. You talk about bright guys. I mean, these people really were excited, and they excited us, and they leave behind a legacy that young folks that can look at it and they say, well, these guys think it's a cool profession, and they're very successful. And I mean, these people have already made an impact. So young people come into a corporation, they've got to go through that corporate squeeze. It's not an easy door to go through. Most people, you have to go through the rite of passage. You start out, some kind of, paying homage to an executive somewhere else, doing the dirty work or whatever. But these guys and girls have got into the organization, made an impression, rose through the ranks, and now take over a department. And some of them are actually very, very key players in some big corporations. And it's just exciting to recognize them and then use them as our featured role models. So as you can see here.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just have the video. If you can pick that up a little bit, there's Rob and Brad White, who were also young guns. And Brad White he's a kick-ass. He's doing very well as a consulting engineer, and he's just such a young guy, and he's so energetic. And what's really cool about it is they're renewing and refreshing our image. It's not old stodgy guys that are, gray beards and gray hair anymore. These guys are young, successful entrepreneurs driving business in their respective organizations.
Well, I think it's a great segue too, Kenny, to get into Ken Sinclair's April 2017 edition, automatedbuildings.com, because a big chunk of that, several of the articles are about young people and how to engage them. But you did a little piece, the overall summary on the Make Me Happy button. So talk a bit about that, if you will, and then let's talk about some of the articles that are there.
All righty. Well, I think it started for me with contextualization, and my understanding of that came from our girl from Silicon Valley, Therese Sullivan, because I didn't really get it at first, and she came out with that snowball, explained to us what was going on in the department stores and some of the major stadiums across the country were using experimental technologies and seeing how well it worked and see what the reaction would be to their customers. So when you walk in the store, if you have a smart device, it picks you up, it tracks you, it lets you know that it knows you're there, and it can send you downloads of certificates or coupons, or if you go to a baseball stadium, it'll give you it'll give you the tour of the stadium on your phone, so you can say, over here is our Hall of Fame or whatever, and so and it was experimental, and she said it's going to take off, and it did take off. It got incredibly huge. And then our second introduction to this was Comfy, and Miss Baker, Lindsay Baker, explained to us that we are going to have to start addressing people. You can't, the days of placebo thermostats and tricking people with 2 degrees colder or warmer, those are over. People aren't happy. They're going to let you know. So they came up with a Comfy program that lays on top of the building automation systems, and it really was the best form of zoning. Plus, everybody's smartphone was a sensor. So the human being became the movable sensor, so you know exactly where they were inside the building, how many people you had inside the building. I mean, it was an amazing feedback loop. So, and then they could hit that they're unhappy. They want heat. Heat comes on for 10 minutes. Is that good? If it's good, you hit Comfy, it shuts off. Well, they found out they saved a great deal of money because people actually were tough on themselves. If they got cooled off, they didn't waste the cooling. They turned it off when they were satisfied. So
right.
It gave you.
Let me hop in real quick, Kenny, because Lindsay has an article, or the Comfy team has an article on automated buildings, and it's on what occupants want. And right. She talked about the concept of a smart office. Ken alludes to this in his opening comments too. There's actually a building in California that we talked to. I forget, it was months and months ago. They were designing a wellness building. Everything in the building they were marketing the building as being a wellness building. All the snacks were healthy. The water was purified. The air was purified. And because if you think about it, if you really think about it, at the end of the day, the real estate people that we're all selling to, the smart buildings, they have to be more competitive. They have to create more value because the millennials are demanding it. The millennials are demanding that your building is Energy Star rated. They're wanting more. And Lindsay sort of addresses this with the concept of a smart office, a more environmentally sustainable workplace, greater control of the physical environment. This gets to their product. And so it is very cool. And then that sort of dovetails right into Therese Sullivan's article. And Therese is talking about will DevOps culture come to smart buildings? And, as near as I can tell, what that is talking about is sort of, again, using analytics, using customer feedback, and sort of the whole concept of maybe never having a real finished product, that it keeps going on and on and on. The development process keeps going on, which is sort of, to me, it's like you're at two different ends of it, right? Because on one hand, you're demanding a lot more, and on the other hand, you're demanding it in a fast period of time, but at the same time, you expect it to continue to improve. So we might get into to a phase, Kenny, where there's no real finished products.
Well, people change and their expectations change, but the DevOps is a term that people use when they mean doing all the new stuff in new ways that introduce development software, quality assurance, and feedback, and then the operations, so that they're all overlapping like Olympic rings, and then where they all join in the middle is where DevOps exists. So you're right, and I see just getting back to what Ken St. Clair said is again, we were following the trends, and that leads to a lot of stuff that I think Ken St. Clair is after. And his trend right now, the thing that he's most focused on, is the way that there's forces that are driving much of our industry. We're morphing from owner's continence, I say in this introduction, where we used to run to the keep the building owner happy, keep the facility manager happy, and life is good. Well, he's now putting this downstream. You have to keep the occupants happy, because they're the ones, like you said, they're, at the end of the day, if they're not happy, they leave and they're not productive, and they're sick all the time, or they pretend to be sick, or they just have lack of commitment because the space is driving them crazy. The wind's blowing, or the air's blowing in their face, or whatever. But he says, that the pieces of the puzzle that lead to their satisfaction, we need to introduce ourselves to them and become masters of it, because we probably can do it. We've been doing it all the time, but we never had the feedback loop on the communication. And then one thing that I really got a kick out of with Ken's April theme was that he quotes one of the smartest guys, sharpest knives in the drawer, Paul Oswald, managing director for CB Richard Ellis, ESI Global Workplace Solutions, Global Energy and Sustainability. And he said, let's consider this, Paul says, let's consider this from a building owner's or manager's perspective. In a typical building, energy represents $1 to $9 per square foot cost item. Lease, maintenance, and operations represent a 10 to 99 per square foot dollar cost per foot. But the people, occupants, represent $100 to $990 cost per square foot. So that we were working on with a 330, 300 metric, and how we're going to try to get in that 300 zone. Well, Paul explained that a little bit better by literally telling you what the cost is per square foot. And that means that if you're not focusing on where you can get $100 to $999 savings, or give somebody greater productivity, better satisfaction, keeping tenants in place for year after year, moving with the times, introducing new technologies that involve lighting, as a first stage of heating and cooling, giving feedback, and knowing how to come up with the best blend of shading and external light versus internal light, and what kind of heat load that causes. It's so clever. But Ken will not let this thing go until we're all educated. So I give him a great deal of appreciation, because we now have a trend that has evolved into a very significant aspect of our business.
That we do, Kenny. And Ken St. Clair, we're going to have him on in 2 weeks. He was out of pocket this week and next week, so we'll get more discussion on that. But encourage you to go to automatedbuildings.com. A lot of great stuff there. Well, if we get Therese Sullivan back on to talk about her article. Brad White and Christopher Naismith from SES, we talked about Brad earlier being a young gun, talks about coping with the IoT revolution by staying agile. And our last post, which we'll get to, we got a video. There's a software program called Scrum that they use, or a process called Scrum, and you can see the video on that. But a great article with that.
Well, what's neat about that is they made an analogy to Scrum is like you have a Scrum in rugby, right?
Right.
But you come together and you try to get something done, and you have a sprint phase. So you do sprint planning, then sprint development, and then sprint review, and then retrospective. So it's to get things done quickly. It's a new style of planning, and so prioritized checklist and wish list. So
it's a cool little video, shows you how that works, and maybe we can get Brad on to talk about that some. And then some other great minds in the industry are on there. We've got our friend Steve Galizium does an article on using IoT to achieve better outcomes. One of the brilliant guys, Steve, is. We have several posts from him on there, and that's Optergy, which was the co-winner of the Light Commercial Systems of the Year. Our friend Mike Salvador Dali Welch, Kenny, has several articles, 8 things. Three articles. There you go. And our friend Mark Peacock has a couple of articles. So
sure does.
Another really, really strong month on automatedbuildings.com. And again, we'll get Ken Sinclair back on here in 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right, buddy. I think, we get back to, and we're coming close to the end here, big dog. Right. We get back to it. We're thinking about another one of our highlights, and this is the Energy Solution of the Year Award at the Control Trends Awards, and our friends at Belimo win it with the Belimo Energy Valve again. And,
I know.
This, Kenny, is a product that's near and dear to my heart. It's if you haven't heard of this product, you got to check it out, because on every coil you have a control valve anyway. So among other things, this thing is a pressure independent control valve. So that basically is using an air term. It's like a VAV controller, right? So you're controlling off of air pressure. So that allows you to sort of fine tune things. Because if you think about the way most buildings are designed, you take the coldest day of the year, and that's what you use for your flow to heat. You take the hottest day of the year, that's your design day for your maximum cooling load, and then you add about a 25% fudge factor in there, because the only unforgivable sin is to be undersized with equipment. So everything gets oversized, and on the hottest day of the year, the coldest day of the year, guess what? Everything works really, really well. But any other day, you're going to be off. Your test and balance guys come in, they try to balance it out, and they might get it right for a day, but it comes out of balance. So by adding the pressure independent portion of it, you're going to get much, much better control. But on top of that, Kenny, they add a supply and a return temperature. They run an algorithm there with the flow. So among other things, now you can control precisely to the BTU on the coil. And not only that, you can take the data out and run it to your analytics package to see how effective your system is. So in essence, the Belimo Energy Valve is like having a test and balance guy on each one of your coils. It's going to eliminate tons of nuisance calls. The savings we've seen so far with some of the projects we've worked on top of additional savings. One of them was a government installation, and Obama had to reduce their energy by a certain percentage. They did everything they could, from changing the light bulbs to getting the energy systems tuned up. They couldn't hit the number. They put the energy valve in, and they rocked it. So you're talking typically a 20 to 30% energy savings. This is not just me making this up. The MIT ran this thing through the paces. There are tons of case studies, but this is a great product. Reach out to your local CG&A distributor and tell them you want to know about the Belimo Energy Valve. And now that Roger Ebenak is along with Honeywell, reach out to Roger Ebenak and tell him you want a Belimo Energy Valve.
Oh, that's going to be something. He'll feel a little awkward there the first time he does that, I'll bet, huh? But yeah, it's good stuff. And yeah, I think that what they added was some other people have, very interesting valves, and the pressure independent control valve, features, that the other manufacturers have, the other vendors have. They don't have the sensors where they actually measure the supply and return, the differential, the delta T, and that's where you actually really maximize. That's the third dimension of savings that I don't think anybody else has out there yet. So
yeah, but you think about it, Kenny. If using that factor, if you put these things in when you design the building, now you can have smaller piping, you can have a smaller chiller, you can have a smaller boiler. It's unbelievable, because you can raise the delta T even if you're retrofitting it. So, do the calculations. If you can raise your delta T, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 degrees, the savings are huge. And this is not pie in the sky stuff. They've been doing this for a while. Belimo they're a lot like Siemens. They're very exacting in their standards and what they do. Belimo rep will come out with your distributor. They'll do calculations. And the way they do this, Kenny, is they'll put the Belimo energy valve in. They'll start collecting data before they turn the energy valve portion on. And they'll collect data there, then they'll turn it on, so you can actually get proof positive of what these valves are doing for you. It's one of the greatest products, I think, ever. And
well, and see, Belimo has a lot up their sleeve too. In other words, over in Europe again, they're doing VAVs and they're doing a different applications style, and they have their own protocol going on in there that I'm just waiting for that to come into the network somewhere so that you can really get. We talk about intelligent edge devices. Well, we're talking about intelligent. Every single place you have a new Belimo actuator or a new Belimo valve actuator assembly, so all your direct coupled actuators on your dampers and all your everywhere you put them to include probably in the very near future VAVs will all be addressable on a network. So that's a very interesting feature I think it's coming from Belimo.
Well, they merged with, what was the wireless company our friend David Alabama?
Thermocon.
So they merged with Thermocon. So now you can just sort of use your imagination to figure out where they might be going with that. And speaking of that, they got a new head guy, Jim Furlong, and we are headed to Belimo in the next couple of months. We're going to go up meet him, introduce the Control Trends community to Jim, and do a tour of Mount Belimo. So we got some good stuff we got to work in there as well. So, all right, big dog. What else you got?
Eric, that runs us through the this week of Control Trends. We could go over to Ken's calendar one more time because there were a couple of other events that people may or may not be interested in. Let me bring that up real quick. Okay. So as we summarize the options that you have, plan to attend. You can't go to all of them, but you can definitely shoot your sights at, again, the April 25th through the 28th. We have a CGNA meeting down there in Memphis, Tennessee. April 26th through the 28th, we have a CABA Intelligent Building and Digital Home Forum meeting in Silicon Valley. May 8th through May 10th, we have Project Haystack 2017 in Saddlebrook Resort, Tampa, Florida. We have the EGIO World Conference coming up May 22nd through the 23rd in Manchester, United Kingdom. June 8th through June 9th, ControlCon at Cochrane Supply, Detroit, Michigan. And then rounding up the June time frame, we have June 13th through the 18th will be the 2017 Realcomm IBCOM in San Diego, California. And come to the Control Trends and take a look, see, and then make your plans because you got to stay up in the industry. And like you said, too, is mixing it with fun, maybe bring a spouse or your significant other on this event might take you into an area where you can learn a great deal.
Don't do like this guy and I won't mention his name. He was a distributor and he'd always bring his mistress to these meetings. Don't do that. That never turns out well. So
how did he come up with that?
No, it's a true story. Again, I won't mention the guy's name, but he would.
Well, that's good.
The better the meeting, he'd bring his mistress, and it was just really, really something. And then he'd run up a huge tab and charge it off to Honeywell or somebody like that. But don't do that. That's a word from old dogs like me and Kenny Smyers. Listen, we'll be off next week again. We'll be traveling, doing some stuff, but we'll be back the week after that. So with that, we very much appreciate our Control Trends community. Remember, be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. Well, there you go, big dog. That wasn't too bad, was it?
No.